Happy Tuesday. Wait, no, Wednesday. It's Wednesday and we're here for Coffee and Cursey Words. I have my I Heart Cursey Words shirt on. We have lots to talk about. I am still bouncing back from my first vaccination and that's a thing. So it's going to be a thing today. I am ready to talk housewives. I will touch a little bit on like a kind of wrap up of stuff in just a moment. And then we'll dive into Shannon Beador's. And by the way, I'm ready for her to go to Shannon Storms. Like Shannon Storms is the coolest fucking name ever. But I get that her daughters are Beador. I completely understand. Anyway, we're getting into Real Housewife of Orange County, Shannon suing her divorce attorney. We watched part of this divorce play out during the seasons of Real Housewives of Orange County. There was also a defamation suit that I hadn't really jumped into, but it's not just a defamation suit. It's a defamation suit that like started on a podcast that involves two housewives and the husband of another housewife. And there's an anti-SLAAP litigation and lawyers' fees. Like there's a lot going on. So we're going to do an overview of that too. So those are the two big things that we're covering. We'll do a quick little roundup and I've got my coffee and we just are going to do the thing today. We're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. So it's Wednesday. We should just get into it. Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the Cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. All right, y'all, before we jump all the way into it, I just have to share because today is the day that the new Pride merch launched. It's available in the Law Nerd Shop at lawnerdshop.com. We are going to be adding to it in June as well, early in June, because June is Pride Month and it does take sometimes a little time to get stuff from the shop. But I wanted to show you what was new today and ready for you right now. Yes, I got it a little delayed because I wasn't feeling good. Yes, I run the shop myself. So if you wanted to know how that works, that's how it works. We have new Law Nerds Unite merch with our rainbow heart, a Law Nerds Unite V-neck with the rainbow hearts. We have new Paw Nerd Pride mug, Law Nerd Love notebooks, 2 new variations of stickers, a limited edition. No, this isn't the limited edition one. We have a limited edition Pride mug. This is the Law Nerd Love mug that's just going to stay with the rainbow heart. And then we have, where is the other ones? Ooh, we've got the Law Nerds Unite other notebook. This might it might find its way to a shirt. And then we have the Pride tote. We have one other mug that is hiding from me, but this is an easy reusable tote bag. I'm super excited about it. Love the Pride. And then under the mugs, we have a new, where is it? I don't see it. Maybe it hasn't populated in the shop yet. That could have happened. 10% of proceeds are going to the Trevor Project for everything from the Pride collection. I'm going to go and look at why that won. I have one limited edition mug. I want to make sure why it hasn't populated. So if you guys want to go shop, you can. There will be new stuff at the beginning of June as well. Normally we launch on the 15th. This one got a little delayed because of me, and truth be told. And I want to make sure that everything that we are sharing is inclusive and size inclusive. And sometimes things go out of stock from our distributor, like honest behind the scenes stuff. And I'm going to find this limited edition mug and make sure it updates real quick so that you guys have that too. It's yellow. It's adorable. I love it. There's also a hat that I didn't see showing up. So let me just fix it real quick. We're real time in it. This is the chit chat. If you're in the replay crew, we love you. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. And then also there will be timestamps down below. There just will be. So there will be timestamps down below to get to it. There are 2 other things that just weren't showing up. So I'll have to go find why they weren't showing up. And we can search new to old in the shop. It's still not showing up. All right, I'm going to have to go fix my last mug and see why it's not showing up in the shop. That's really annoying here. Let's make it available. I don't know why. Where are you, mug? Come on. You should be there. All right. We'll fix it afterwards. I'm going to show you the let me show you the image of it real quick because I'm really excited about it, which is why I'm still trying to find it and it just isn't showing up. Let's go to all products. We'll see if we can make it show up this way. Professionals here, people. Professionals. We are professionals. I'm just searching all new to old. There we go. Now everything showed up. This Lawnard Pride mug, I really enjoy. We've got this in a sticker as well. I love it. This is our limited edition mug with the yellow. And then I redid our favorite, and one of our best sellers actually is this fax hat that has the 3D puffy, like the black on black with the puffy. I love this hat so much. It's one of my favorite. We remade it into the rainbow variety. So I'm very excited. So that is what it is, because you know what? Facts. We should have pride. So I'm very, very excited to share this. I'm very excited to be able to donate proceeds. And part of the reason I can do that, one, I am a full-time content creator. This is what I do for work. This is what I do for my family. But because the channel is growing so well, because YouTube has been going so well, we are able to donate things. Like, it's so incredible to be able to lean on the channel and lean in when we want to do fundraisers and lean in to be able to donate. I just am so just honored to be a part of this community that allows me to also give back and allows us to pool together and give back, especially in a year that's been so hard where we don't always have money on our own to donate. Sometimes it feels weird to be like, I've got $5, I've got $10, but this way you can show your Lawnard Pride. We do ship internationally, and then you can absolutely know that every month I'm going to be taking our net proceeds from the Pride collection, and then 10% of that is going to the Trevor Project. I just love that we have built this community so that we can do that. And yay. So that's the new Pride collection. Thank you so much, Anne. I like the Pride merch. I don't know. It just has it has to be not dumb and not I don't know. I don't like the Pride merch that feels like people are just trying to stick a rainbow on everything, which is why I want to make sure that with all of our merch, we are size inclusive, and that is still something I'm pushing more on. And we are going to be bringing in some merch in June that is also the trans flag as well, that is pink, blue, and white, not just the rainbow flag. So we want to make sure that everyone can share their pride and everyone can rep it in a way that's comfortable for them, with money going back to the Trevor Project. So yay. Jamie, we had updated the fundraiser. We had hit, I had rounded it out to $9,000 that we donated to RAIN, and that all went through Google to them. And then that fundraiser is still up on the channel. So that is what it is. So, yeah. So, all right. We are going to jump into some of the stuff. Thank you for letting me share what's going on with the Pride stuff. Again, replay crew, hit the chat below. What else? Hit the links below, because that's where the timestamps are. If you have not liked, subscribed, and done the YouTube things, you can tell when your girl doesn't feel great because the brain works slower. Like, subscribe, do the YouTube things. I can't believe that we have 124,000 subscribers. I'm just blown away by it. I'm just blown away by it. All right. Let's let's just go. Let's just go. Do you guys want to hear about Douglas? Of course, of course, of course. I think I honestly think Pride Month is so incredible because I I grew up in the 90s. I grew up watching and not really understanding what went down with Andrew Shepherd. I grew up not understanding why it was that people couldn't be safe. And um it didn't really it really has hit me watching how much pride has grown and how people can celebrate Pride Month. They can celebrate Pride Month as allies, and they can celebrate Pride Month as proud out people in the queer community without worrying about getting fired from their jobs, without worried about getting killed, without worrying about these repercussions. And it's just been incredible to me that we've seen, or at least in my lifetime, I've seen such a large shift. And it just, again, when we talk about live and let live on this channel, I don't understand why how people live their lives is so can be so offensive to others, because live your life, be you. That's what we're going to do. We're going to just continue to live our life and be us. And anything we can do to support, we will absolutely do to support. Oh, can I share a book with you guys that my friend wrote? My friend wrote a book, and he has no idea I'm sharing it, but because I didn't even think of it before. But Chris did his TED Talk with me. Let me pull it up on Amazon and then I can link it. Chris and I did our TED Talks together, and his TED Talk was on lessons from the playground. And it really was talking about how to be an ally and how to understand some of the issues around the LGBTQ community that kids face, and how kids learn internalized lessons just from the way that they play. And I want to pull up his book. He just launched it because where is it? And of course, because I'm not prepared, because on the top of my mind, I was like, we need to do this. I'm going to have to find where his book is. Chris, where is your book? Why can I not find it? Why is Amazon being dumb for me? But anyway, I'm going to just pull it up on his Instagram and share it. Because he shared this incredible TED Talk that's going to be here on YouTube. And I'm going to share his book here, and then I will share a link to it. So I will find the link. It's got to be in here. But Raising LGBTQ Allies, A Parent's Guide to Changing the Messaging from the Playground. This is an incredible book. His TED Talk was incredible. And it really is a easy and open conversation about how to change some of the messaging around otherness in being a kid. He's gotten amazing praise and write-ups for it. I'm beyond tremendously proud of him. Chris is just not only an amazing human, but an amazing speaker and creator. And I'm so proud of him for getting his first book out to the marketplace. So I will absolutely pull this up and drop it. He's gotten tons and tons of press on it. He shares these messages all over his Instagram. So his Instagram's A Road Trip to Love. Chris Tompkins, his what is his TED Talk? His TED Talk is Messages from the Playground, and I'm sure it's here on YouTube. I can find it. So we'll link that. And it's just, I like to be able to share resources. I think Chris is fantastic. I'm going to find where his Amazon link is. Oh, it's direct. His link is directly from the publisher. That's why. So I'm going to put this in the chat, and then we'll put it down below. So that was impromptu. Sorry, Chris. I'll do better. I'll do better. We'll do better at sharing this in a really formalized way. So anyway, that's what that is. Glad to share. And if you guys want to go follow Chris on the Instagrams, it's A Road Trip to Love, and you can give him some love. That I was so blessed in my TED Talk, and then I swear we're going to get into stuff. I was so blessed the day I gave my TED Talk to speak with amazing speakers. And on a really diverse range of topics, and it's just been incredible. So I'm glad to be able to share all the success that they are seeing in their lives too, because I feel like the other TED speakers that day and I are just this little group where we're all kind of watching and rooting for one another and the growth that everybody's having. So we should get in to Shannon Beador. Do you guys want to get into the divorce stuff first? Should we get into the divorce stuff first now that we've shared all the things and chitty chatted about the things? Should we just drop hearts in the chat if you're ready to get into the divorce stuff? Yes, let's. Everybody's like, yes, divorce. Let's get into the divorce stuff for sure. Let's do that. All right. My phone is buzzing off the hook right now. So we're going to have to put on do not disturb. Thank you guys. It's buzzing from your merch orders at lawnerdshop.com. All right. So Shannon Beador, hold on, let me pull this up and make sure we've got it ready to go because we're professionals here, people. And I'm going to swoop it so we can timestamp it real easy. And then last thing. If you have questions about what we go through, I will go through questions at the end. So I'm going to go through the divorce stuff. Then I'm going to get into this defamation lawsuit. And then I'm going to come back for questions. You can tell I'm a little distracted today. I am more distractible when I'm tired for sure. So I am going to be doing all of that first, and then I will be back and we'll talk about all of the things. So we'll do a quick TLDR on who Shannon Beador is, and we'll go from there. Sound good? All right. It works for me too. Shannon Beador, Real Housewife of Orange County, was in the process for a number of seasons of getting divorced from her now ex-husband, David Beador. Now, on a side note, her maiden name is Storms, and I think Shannon Storms is like some kind of superhero name, and it's amazing, and I love it, but I get that she has kids and that they might not want to have their mom under a different last name, so no shade there. But I always have to mention it because she's Shannon Storms Beador, and I think it's rad. She has been on numerous seasons of Real Housewives of Orange County. We first met her in the first season when she was talking about having crystals in the foundation of her home and it built like into the walls of her home. She had one of the most lavish housewives houses, aside from Heather Dubrow popping her champs, and was always fun to watch. I actually really enjoy Shannon. There was definitely a season where the drinking was a bit rough, while the divorce was going on. And we saw the divorce somewhat play out on screen, her talking about back and forth in court, her going through the pain and the emotion and the stress of going through a high profile, high net worth divorce and all of the lawyer things that went on behind the scenes. Well, news broke pretty widely this week, end of last week, that she is now suing her divorce attorney. This was filed on October 6th, 2020, but is just coming to light now, as sometimes these things do. And this has happened across other lawsuits I've covered too. It's like, oh, this has been going on, but nobody was checking for it. And so now it has come to light, and we see that there is this ongoing lawsuit with her former divorce attorney. So what does that look like? We're going to go through the different causes of action and talk about what she is saying that they have done wrong. This is essentially a legal malpractice lawsuit for monetary damages, asking for money to fix the shit that was done wrong. Now, current status of the case, just so you know what's happening with the case, is that this is going to binding arbitration. In the retainer agreement that she signed with her former attorney, there was an arbitration clause, and this case is now going into arbitration. So out of the trial system into arbitration to be resolved, hopefully with them and a third party. And it's most likely that that's what will happen. Now, this civil complaint looks a little different from a lot of the ones that we go through. This is a very simple, basic form filed complaint. Again, no shade there. It's efficient. It's getting it done. It's like, these are the causes of action. This is what it is. It is a complaint for professional negligence for monetary damages. And you will see, if you watch it on YouTube, because this will also be on the podcast, you can see the breakdown of what that looks like with all the little check boxes, and then the causes of action. The causes of action are pretty clear. So there are 9 things that Shannon is complaining of from her former attorney. In this, the defendant is the former attorney. That's the person that's being sued. The plaintiff is Shannon Beador, the person who is suing. And so when we go through this talking about defendant and plaintiff, that's the position of the parties. Defendant Phillips and his firm, the LLP defendant, were engaged to represent plaintiff in connection with the dissolution of marriage proceedings. That's the formal legal name for a divorce. A divorce is actually technically called a dissolution of marriage in California. Other states generally also call it the dissolution of marriage. In doing so, and throughout the course of the representations, defendants failed to represent plaintiffs properly, causing her damage. Said failures include, but are not limited to, the following non-exhaustive items, meaning this is the basis of it, but there could be more. So non-exhaustive means there could be other things that aren't being complained of here, and we can prove those things later. Item number 1, defendants failed to include the cost of plaintiff's children's ongoing education, college, and wrongfully advised plaintiff that the payment obligations regarding the same need not be included in the marital settlement agreement. That is the divorce agreement, when the court says this is what y'all have to do for, time going forward. I think that I'm not surprised this is item number 1. I think this is a big one. We saw on the show, and of course, TV is not reality, but it is reality TV. So I assume that we're seeing some of what's going on in people's lives. We saw that there was contention there between Shannon and David. We saw that they were having a hard time communicating. We saw how hurt she was by his infidelity and how difficult it was negotiating for this settlement. I am very surprised that the girls' college was not considered in these payments, whether it's part of the child support, whether it's agreed that each parent will support 50% of the ongoing cost of college, whatever it is. I was very surprised to see that that was not included. And I imagine that that is a big item of contention as you have numerous children becoming college age, one who's already in college, that becomes a substantial expense. And if one parent is left holding that while the other one's not, I can imagine the frustration when this just could have been sorted out in the divorce court. So that's what I'm kind of reading from this, because you know that the girls are going to be college age. You probably know that that's a direction they want to go in. So why not just include it in here? And if this is true, because all complaints are allegations, if this is true, I don't understand why an attorney would say it just doesn't need to be in there. It's all fine. In a divorce, assume that nothing's all fine and everything needs to be in writing. Not the advice of a divorce attorney, because I'm not a divorce attorney, just common sense. In a divorce, you need the things to be in writing. Item number 2, defendants erroneously include, I love the use of erroneously. We're not going to false, but we are going to false. Defendants erroneously included a USC endowment jointly made by plaintiff and her former spouse as an expense of plaintiff, exposing plaintiff to liability, and further caused plaintiff to relinquish control of said endowment fund to her former spouse. So they made some kind of an endowment to USC, and the attorneys are arguing that that was miscategorized, which exposed or could have exposed Shannon to liability, and then she relinquished the entire endowment fund to her ex. It sounds like that was a matter of contention. USC folks are very, very into their donations and endowments to the school, so I imagine that caused quite a lot of contention, because there is a lot of pride for most Trojans. We won't know. We're a UCLA family over here. Number 3, defendants failed to negotiate and include a filming release from plaintiff's former spouse for plaintiff's children so that her children could continue to appear in their roles on Bravo Television's Real Housewives of Orange County. Said failure resulted in significant damage and expense to plaintiff to enable her children to participate in filming. How I read this is that they had to then negotiate a filming release because we did see her daughters on the last season of Real Housewives of Orange County. So this was filed in 2020. So this filming release would have had to have been negotiated before they appeared on this just past season of Real Housewives of Orange County that covered the beginning of COVID. So that was covering March, beginning of March through the end of the summer in 2020. So we watched in that season of Real Housewives of Orange County, they started filming pre-COVID, shut down COVID in the middle, and all of them dealt with the different fallouts from going into a shutdown, going into distance learning, and dealing with not only having COVID, but the repercussions of COVID. So it's interesting to me that they said substantial or significant damage and expense. I imagine that Shannon had to pay lawyers to go back to the drawing board to negotiate with David to get those filming releases signed for the season that just passed that had been filmed in March of 2020, because this was filed after. So obviously the damage has been done. The lawyers have been paid, but that's Shannon's income. I don't think that's her sole income, but that's one of her income sources. And we know that not being able to film with your kids can be problematic, especially if you've filmed with your kids in the past. So that would have been something that should have absolutely been negotiated, considering what a big role Housewives has in Shannon's life, it appears, and in her income. And the fact that her daughters had always been on Housewives, there would be a consideration that should continue. Item number 4 is defendants retained a second unnecessary forensic accountant just before trial in the matter and without informing plaintiff at any time prior thereto, incurred an approximately $85,000 bill for which recovery is now sought against plaintiff by the forensic firm. So when you hire lawyers, generally you are paying your lawyer either a retainer or a contingency, and you are paying for expenses. So you're paying for the experts, you're paying for the forensic accountant, you're paying for that to be done. So to hire a second accountant and incur an $85,000 cost, if plaintiff did not agree, I can understand why they're complaining about it. Though again, if the law firm comes back and is like, no, this is where we emailed you and this is where you agreed, that might be a little harder to fight on. But again, this is the new attorneys looking back at what the other attorneys did, going, no, what we're not going to do is hire a second forensic accountant. Item number 5, defendants repeatedly but negligently assured plaintiff that she was entitled to a continuation of her lifestyle on conclusion of the 10-year marriage. So the way this is worded sounds to me like they're saying the lawyers were promising her it's going to be fine. You're not going to have to change your lifestyle. You've been married for 10 years. You're entitled to this, amount. And we did see in the press that Shannon was seeking over $20,000 a month, ended up settling for half of that. So again, money being relative to most of us, we're like, okay, cool. But also, in a divorce proceeding, it's relative to what you own, what they own, how much your lifestyle was costing, and making accommodations for that in some kind of a divorce settlement. Even if it seems like a whole lot of money to us, it's all relative in divorce proceedings. So again, lawyers can say, this is what we're trying for. This is what we're hoping for. It's really hard to promise someone an outcome, particularly in divorce, because you're dealing with often parties that are locked horns and are contentious with one another. Item number 6 alleges that defendants mishandled the financial analysis of plaintiff's former spouse's business, despite knowing how the business carried forward losses and deferred income, resulting in a lower value assessment of the business's worth. So this, again, it sounds like the business from David was something that was built during marriage, which means that Shannon would have been entitled to half of it. They were married over 10 years. So in California, that can be your lifetime spousal support. This is an item of community property that Shannon's attorneys are now alleging was misvalued, which resulted in her getting a lesser amount from it or not having that negotiating leverage that she would have otherwise had with regard to David's business. And again, carrying forward losses and deferring income generally has to do with your taxes, but that should be offset when you're looking at the valuation. And that's what they're arguing here. Item number 7, defendants failed to adequately argue and present evidence that plaintiff's income was less than her former spouse's income. So they're arguing that they didn't do enough to show that Shannon wasn't ballin'. Like, hey, no, in the divorce, you needed to show that I'm not making all this money. The thing is, I believe Shannon launched her food line while this was going on, had the income from Real Housewives. So now she has an income too, and that income is going to offset what she's entitled to in spousal support. And it sounds like that maybe her income was showing as more than David's income. The thing is, with all of this, when you're looking back, you have to look at what the actual income is versus what they are reporting on taxes and the way they're moving money around to potentially lower tax burden. Again, next level rich people shit. That is something that you strategize in your taxes with a tax professional when, more money, more problems happens to you, because more money, more problems is literally the truth. Biggie said it best, and no one believes it. And we see it with influencers all the time. They make more money. They don't change the way that they're dealing with things. And then they end up with, more problems. Item number 8, defendants were uncommunicative with plaintiff throughout the course of the representation and failed to return calls and respond to inquiry by plaintiff. And then they say in paren, at one point, plaintiff was forced to contact defendant Phillips's wife to try to get a response. This is one of those items that is, lawyers have obligations to keep their clients in the loop, absolutely. But it's also one of the things where there's a lot of room for difference of opinion. What does non-communicative mean? Does it mean he was giving her updates every week or so and that she wanted to be in communication daily, which generally isn't practical? Does it mean that months would go by and she's like, I have no idea what's happening? So that's of all of the items, the uncommunicative goes in to show a bigger picture. We'll see that's not really the heart of the thing. It goes to show the frustration of the thing. And they're trying to also show that this attorney was not doing their job for Shannon. But sometimes things go months and nothing's happening. So it's like, hey, we'll check back when something happens, and then nothing's happened. But they did say not returning calls. And this is a complaint you will see a lot when attorneys get reported to the state bar, is the lack of communication. Look, communication's key with anything, with any business, with any relationship. Open communication is the key to most things. It's why we talk about facts, not fuckery. It's why we talk about critical thinking. It's why we talk about being able to communicate even when we disagree on how things are, how things should be, what we'd like to see. It's why we run Court of Public Opinion on Fridays, so we can have conversations about things where we don't all see eye to eye and communicate effectively, because it is one of the biggest issues. Breakdown of communication leads to a whole lot of problems. Item number 9. In the 11th hour, defendants convinced plaintiff to take a lower dollar divorce settlement right before trial, as defendants were not prepared to litigate the matter. So they're alleging essentially that Shannon felt pushed into a lower dollar settlement. And I read this hearing Shannon believing that they were like, we should just settle. We should just settle. Take this. If you go to trial, it's going to be this. You should settle. You should settle. And now they believe that that was because the attorneys were not prepared. So they were forcing her to settle when maybe it wasn't in her best interest. That's how this reads. It'll be interesting to see how the lawyers break that down. But again, this is going to go into binding arbitration, and the arbiter is going to be able to go back and forth between the parties and say, well, they're saying this and you're saying this, and try to resolve some of these issues. Things like this $85,000 bill, things like the amount of time and money she spent to get that filming release, dealing with or going back to deal with the college, or at least pay for attorneys to go back and deal with the ongoing college expenses, to deal with the loss of the endowment and things like that. So when it comes to this cause of action and the divorce proceeding itself, I don't know if we'll see a resolution because it's going to go into arbitration. So I am going to keep tracking it. But what I expect will happen is at some point, there will be a notice into the court saying that the matter has resolved and that it's being dismissed with prejudice. I don't know if we'll ever find out the nuts and bolts of how it dissolved or how it resolved. And I'm interested. Maybe it'll be talked about in the press. Maybe she'll share that. Maybe that will play out a little bit if she's going to arbitration over this while they're filming. I guess we'll see. But there are some basic things here that I can understand the frustration. I don't think this is just Shannon trying to go back and get more money or go back and get a second bite at the apple with her divorce. And I say that because the college expenses are a big thing to me. The filming release is a big thing to me. And then an expert that she didn't approve. Like, those are the three things to me that stand out with, like, these things should have been taken care of. And again, this could be perception. Shannon could have been told, hey, we're doing this. We're hiring this forensic accountant. And she's like, yeah, and didn't actually process the information. So we'll see. The attorneys, I'm sure, will bring all of their emails, all of their case notes that they have. Shannon will bring all that she has. And it's interesting to me that the attorney that she is dealing with in this matter is the same attorney that she dealt with on the Jim Bellino defamation lawsuit. Are you ready to get into some defamation? Are you ready for some defamation? My throat is dry today. It is just dry. So let me pull up the defamation suit and then we'll timestamp that and get right into it. I'm going to go through the complaint first, and then I'm going to kind of summarize how we got to here. I'm not getting into Tamara's side of this suit. We're just talking about Shannon today. If you are interested in Tamara Judge's side of this defamation suit, go ahead and put it in the comments below or in the chat, and I will cover that on another day. Because with regard to Tamara Judge, the trial is set for November 8th, 2021. So she is at this point going to trial against Jim Bellino. So let me just timestamp it and get back into it. I'm going to repeat myself for a minute. All right, let me pull this up. Where is it? Of course, it's not easy to find. Of course, it's not easy to find. Why would it be easy to find? The reason I wanted to cover this suit is because it involves, not only because it involves defamation, and Lord knows we've talked a lot about defamation on this channel, but it also involves a successful anti-SLAAP motion. And that is how Shannon ultimately ended up not being in this case. She was dismissed from this case because of her successful anti-SLAAP motion, and she won attorney's fees on it. So it's it's housewives tea, but B, it does talk about this this repercussion in a lot of states, not all states, but a lot of states. If you just want to go ahead and sue somebody over stuff that you can't prove, they can win it on an anti-SLAAP motion. So I'm going to do the background. I'm going to talk about SLAAP suits a little bit, and then we'll go from there. All right. We're getting into it. Also, can we talk about, just real quick, how cute the new like watercolor pride mugs are, or cups are, from Starbucks? I love them. I might have some extras to be doing a giveaway. There might be a giveaway soon. Just y'all heard it here first. We're just keeping it between friends. You know what to look out for now. All right, let's jump into the second part of what's going on with Shannon Beador. Now, back in 2018, Shannon Beador, Tamara Judge were both sued by Jim Bellino and Jump Management Company. Now, you might recall that Jim Bellino was a housewife's husband. His wife, why am I blanking on her name right now? Because I can only think of Jesus Jugs when I think of his wife. I think it was Tamara that called her Jesus Judge. Alexis. It was Alexis Bellino. They owned like a trampoline park together. He was not a favorite of mine on the show by any means, but Tamara and Shannon are alleged to have defamed him in a podcast interview with Heather McDonald of The Juicy Scoop. What I didn't realize until digging into this today is that she was sued in a separate defamation lawsuit about this. So if we need to get into that one too, let me know. There are you get a defamation lawsuit, you get a defamation lawsuit. Defamation lawsuits for everybody. We're going to get into what the allegations are in this suit with regard to Shannon Beador, and then into why she is no longer in this lawsuit because she won her anti-SLAAP motion. And we'll talk about what that means after we talk about the tea that's in this complaint. James Bellino and his company sued for defamation per se, defamation, trade libel, false light, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, and negligent interference with prospective economic advantage. These are things that we've talked about a lot. They are things that came up in the Tati Westbrook lawsuit as well. And we're going to jump right into it. Y'all know what defamation per se is, but the best part is going to be the introduction and the facts. Let's see. This first line isn't coming out nearly as hot as some of the lawsuits we've covered lately, but we'll get into it anyway. Introduction. This case arises out of defamatory, highly intrusive, and harmful statements made about the plaintiffs by defendants Judge and Beador in the course of media interviews. Those interviews given by Miss Judge and Miss Beador as part of a desperate campaign to extend their 15 minutes of fame were replete with malicious lies and outrageous and highly offensive comments about the strictly personal affairs of plaintiff James Bellino, his family, and business. Now, it gets saucier going into the middle part of that sentence for sure. There's definitely, these are complaints. They're written from the perspective of the person suing. And the person suing is going to say in their complaint, you suck the most. And here's why you suck the most. And you are the worst. And essentially, we hate you. Like, that's how complaints are written, to be very one-sided. They are written to advocate for the side that's suing. We just love getting all of the facts and kind of the tea that's put into these complaints, because complaints are covered by litigation privilege and you can say shit in them. Yes, you should have to back them up. Yes, you should have to prove them in court. However, anyone can sue anyone for anything. We're seeing that in the Triller lawsuit. Paragraph 2. In June of 2018, a wide audience was gathered to watch Judge and Beador swill champagne. Swilling champagne and, quote, dish. It then says, i.e. ostensibly gossip about participants in the reality television show Real Housewives of Orange County. What ensued, however, was not mere gossip, but a vicious and unprovoked attack on the reputation and privacy of Mr. Bellino, who again appeared on the show quite substantially. He is, in my mind, a public figure. It goes on to say, among other demonstrable lies, Ms. Judge and Ms. Beador stated that Bellino, quote, is going to jail, end quote, that his divorce was, quote, fake, and that his trampoline business is now closed because, quote, people get paralyzed there. Oof. So when you're talking about a business, let's keep going. Shortly after they were warned to cease and desist from making further such statements, Judge and Beador began, quote, spinning a defense to the media, alleging that they were merely repeating rumors, which is untrue and no defense in any event, and that they were merely poking fun at certain individuals during their interviews. Paragraph 4, plaintiffs are not amused. Clearly not. But also, you can't say that people are getting paralyzed at somebody's trampoline park unless that's true. Like that would be, the context is going to be key on these statements. And it sounds like this is all recorded, so you should be able to watch these statements and gather the context. Paragraph 4, plaintiffs are not amused. By and through this action, they seek compensation for the existing and continuing damages resulting from defendants' defamatory and outrageous statements in an amount to be proven at trial, but believed to be well in excess of $1 million. Plaintiffs will seek an award of substantial punitive damages to make an example out of Judge and Beador and to deter them from similarly offensive, fraudulent, and malicious conduct in the future. At least they're honest AF with it. Like, we want punitive damages. Remember, punitive damages are the punishment ones. Like, you suck, and so we're going to punish you monetarily in an amount that is going to make you quake so that you will think twice about how much it's going to hurt to do this again. We are going to punish you by taking your money. That is essentially the purpose of punitive damages. I like that they just put out there, we're going to make an example out of you. We're going to though the song for Mulan, we're going to make a man out of you, is now running through my head, and I'm trying not to burst into song because anyway, you're with me if you've seen Mulan nearly as much as I have, with, what I'm talking about. So I'm very interested to see how they break down who said what, because remember, Tamara is still in this suit. Shannon is not. Parties. James Bellino is an individual who at relevant times resided in Orange County. Yeah, we believe everyone's in Orange County. Tamara Judge resides in Orange County. Shannon Beador resides in Orange County. Look, jurisdiction's really easy on this one. It's filed in court in Orange County. They live in Orange County. They're on Real Housewives of Orange County. Jurisdiction is not a thing. Everyone's in the same place. We're not even going to discuss her jurisdiction. We don't know her. Everyone lives in the same place. Factual allegations. Hey, Triller. This part of the lawsuit is really helpful, buddy. This part, the factual allegations part, there's like dates and who said what and where they were when they said it. This part makes everything make more sense. Otherwise, it's very confusing. Factual allegations, paragraph 12, defendant, Judge, and Beador are participants in the American reality television series called The Real Housewives of Orange County, which from now on is going to be called OC. Actually, you should look, lawyers, it's RHOC. Like, just abbreviate the show the way that the fans abbreviate it, and just keep it clean. Just RHOC. You don't have to abbreviate just Orange County. Just abbreviate the whole thing. RHOC. We all know what you're talking about. We all watch the show. Let's not pretend we don't. Judge has been a cast member on the show since the third season, which premiered in 2007. Beador has been a cast member on the show since its 9th season in 2014. Alexis Bellino was a cast member of RHOC from its 4th season through its 8th season, which ran from 2008 to 2013. I forgot that Bellino and Beador did not overlap in their time. Alexis was the wife of plaintiff James Bellino throughout the time she was a cast member on RHOC, but Bellino was never a cast member for obvious reasons. The cast members were all, quote, housewives. Look, man, he was on the show. He was filmed quite substantially on the show. No, he's not holding an orange. No, he is not a quote cast member, but he is part of filming for sure. But I digress. Paragraph 14, Alexis and Bellino have been divorced and achieved an amicable resolution of their divorce proceedings for the benefit of themselves and their 3 minor children. Unfortunately, in the course of those proceedings, Judge and Beador took to the stage in a live setting to shamelessly, quote, dish and peddle what they claim to be gossip and rumors, but were in fact lies. Well, if they didn't state it as fact, it might not be true, but if it's not stated as fact, it might also not be defamatory, but we're going to continue. 15, on or about June 26, 2018, Judge and Beador sat down for a live interview with a woman named Heather McDonald, who is the host of a podcast called the, quote, Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald. The interview was held at the Irvine Improv Comedy Club in Irvine, California, and plaintiffs are informed and believe that as many as 100 people were gathered to listen to the interview. Well, I imagine it was also recorded and then released as an actual podcast. Oh, do you think it's still up? That would be fascinating. I imagine it's been taken down during the course of this litigation. Judge and Beador sat on stage with a magnum of champagne. sat in front of them for the duration of the interview. Look, what happens on Housewives that does not involve just a fuck ton of alcohol? Like, most of the things that happen on Housewives involves quite a substantial amount of alcohol. As they swilled champagne, I love that they use the word swilled instead of sipped. Like, sipping champagne seems dignified, right? Sipping champagne and chatting with the ladies is like, ooh, we're ladies and lunch. But like, swilling champagne and spreading malicious gossip paints an entirely different picture of the thing, doesn't it? They're definitely coming in with the language in this lawsuit. And I for one appreciate a sassy lawsuit, don't we all? As they swilled champagne, Judge and Beador discussed and took questions from Miss McDonald and the audience about former and current participants of Real Housewives of OC. When the subject turned to Bellino and Alexis, the interview took a vicious turn. Look, nothing is more vicious than like Slade Smiley pretending to do stand-up and just ripping on Vicky's looks in a shameless way, comparing her to Miss Piggy. Like, nothing, I think, can be more vicious than that. It was appalling to watch. But anyway, I digress. Paragraph 17. In crude and unseemly fashion, Judge, who is a mother. Why? 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 So because she's a mother, she can't say shady shit? Like, seriously? because she's a mom, she's never going to say, have they not watched the show? She's a mother. She's a mother. Yeah, guess what? Mothers sometimes drink champagne and say shady shit. It happens. It happens. They in this lawsuit are doing a fantastic job of trying to paint a picture of who these defendants are. I think it's hilarious, but it is what it is in a lawsuit. This is what you expect from a complaint, is to paint a picture of the other side. The other side sucks the most. They're terrible. We hate them. Your Honor, we hate them. See? And they're taking every opportunity to do it. It's funny. All right, back to paragraph 17. In crude and unseemly fashion, Judge, who is a mother, stated that Bellino is a, quote, shady motherfucker. That sounds like something Tamara would say. She went on to question, quote, why is he wanting spousal support? Oh. See, this is the problem. The housewives know all the tea on the other housewives that's going on in season, off season, behind the scenes. I imagine that when you're on one of these shows, this is Emily's speculation, that people are coming out of the woodworks into your DMs being like, did you hear this? Did you know this? And want to spill the tea on other people to the nth degree. It's like, let me tell you about what they're doing. Let me tell you about they're doing. People love to be in on the chisma. People love it. People love the gossip. People love to be in on the gossip. And I'm sure that people are telling all of the cast members all of the secrets about everybody else. Like, they're just getting told on all the time. Whether it's true or not true is something you need to be careful of if you're the one speaking. So she went on to question, quote, why is he wanting spousal support, end quote, and stated, quote, I have a theory. Everything's in her name, quote. Judge falsely stated that the Bellino's marriage was, quote, fake or a sham, and with respect to Bellino, falsely stated he's going to jail. End quote. Okay, let's continue. Beador heaped insult onto the injury caused by Judge, further stating, I heard they don't, and then in paren, have the trampoline business anymore, end quote, because they were sued. She continued, I won't let my kids go because people get paralyzed. Apparently that happened. Beador was referring to a trampoline park in Orange County known as Sky Zone, owned and managed by JM Co. Now, Sky Zone is a franchise business. I don't know if she's talking about his business or if she's talking about trampoline parks in general, or Shannon's general fear that like bad shit's going to happen all the time. But I heard they don't have the business anymore because they were sued. I mean, if they don't have the business anymore, and if they were sued, I don't know how that's defamatory, but that's probably why her SLAAP motion was granted. So anyway, we're going to continue. Paragraph 19, Bellino discovered the interview after the fact and attempted to mitigate the damage done. We talked about this, right? We talked about mitigation of damages in the Triller suit. Mitigate the damages. Go ahead and issue the copyright strikes on the channels that still have the fight up. They're spelling out here, look, we've tried. We didn't want to have to sue you. We've tried to fix it ourselves, and we can't because these women are just unreasonable, and they're not doing anything with me. They won't work with me. That's where this is going, I suspect. So Bellino, continuing on in chapter 19, there was an attempt to mitigate the damage done and damage to be done by the foregoing malicious, defamatory, and highly intrusive statements. Through his attorney, Bellino sent a cease and desist letter demanding Judge and Beador stop lying, publish full retractions of their false statements, and issue a public apology. Rather than retract and apologize for their lies, however, Judge and Beador doubled down on them. They brazenly stated to the media that they were definitely not going to apologize and claimed, apparently coached by attorneys, that they were repeating. I don't know where this apparently coached by attorneys is coming in, which is fascinating. But they claimed, apparently coached by attorneys, that they were repeating public allegations, which is false, and not a defense in any event. That is an awkward sentence. But I think what they're trying to say is that they went public and were saying, hey, we're just saying what we heard. Like, I'm just saying what I heard. Very, very Teresa Giudice. That's just what I heard. I just heard your husband was stepping out at the gym. It's just what we heard. It's just what we heard. Thus, Judge and Beador were given the opportunity to resolve the dispute in a reasonable fashion, but ostensibly, and to their own detriment, refused to do so. On or about July 16th, 2018, season 13 of RHOC premiered on Bravo, with Judge and Beador returning as participants after the show aired. An after show. Thank you for describing Watch What Happens Live to us. For the court, assuming that the court doesn't watch What Happens Live. It's fair. An after show called Watch What Happened Live with Andy Cohen aired on the same network. When the topic of the Bellino's divorce and Judge and Beador's appearances on the Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald arose, Judge and Beador appeared visibly nervous and defensive. They claimed to be just poking fun at their target individuals during the interview. In any event, plaintiffs are not amused. Twice they've said not amused. Plaintiffs are not amused by Judge's and Beador's malicious and outrageous lies and have taken this action to rehabilitate their image, reclaim privacy, and recover compensation for the substantial harm and damage inflicted on Bellino and his family and his company, JMCO. So defamation per se, they're incorporating everything above. They're saying that the defamation per se here is he is going to jail. They are likening this to accusing someone of being a criminal, which is generally the type of things that are so damaging to a reputation. They fall under defamation per se. Defamation per se is a separate part of defamation where you don't have to prove certain aspects of the defamation. You don't have to prove all of the parts that can make defamation difficult to prove, including actual damage. And so without having to prove actual damage, it's assumed that the thing said, saying someone's a criminal or a career criminal, accusing someone of, I don't know, being a predator and things like that would fall under this defamation per se. The words alone are assumed to be so harmful, you don't have to prove separate damage to it. Because again, defamation at its core is about reputation. Bad reputation. Okay, that's going to happen every time we say reputation now. So they're arguing that this he is going to jail is in that same realm of essentially accusing someone of being a criminal, because why else would somebody be going to jail if not for criminal conduct? Now, the context of the interview is going to be very much important here because, again, defamation bumps up against First Amendment speech, and there is this push-pull balance of what is speech and expression and what is actually damaging speech and what can be harmful and actionable speech. And in the context of comedy, those lines absolutely get blurred. So is it going to be part of their defense that, look, we were at the Improv, we were just making jokes. Clearly, what we were saying was not meant to be taken seriously. Clearly, we were not to be believed that these were facts. We were drinking and gossiping and saying things that we thought were funny. And this is how you know it's funny, based on the context of being at the comedy club, based on the way that the things were set up, how did this play? And so the context of this will be very important. The statement itself, he is going to jail, is not quite he's a criminal, but it implies it. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Second cause of action, defamation against both. Again, it's the first cause of action is just against Tamara. It's not against Tamara and Shannon. The second cause of action for defamation is against both Judge and Beador. It realleges what's above, and then it goes on to talk about Judge's statements that the divorce was fake, that everything was in the wife's name. I don't know how I feel about the divorce is fake and everything's in his wife's name. I don't know how you prove damages on that. I just don't. So that, for me, I'm not sure how we prove damages on that. On June 26, 2018, Beador made numerous statements to numerous persons that Bellino didn't have the trampoline business anymore because, quote, people get paralyzed at that business. Now, it seems that that's not what she said. Based on this own declaration. So you can see how the legal writing kind of shifts it, where they've now connected these two thoughts. But when they talk about what she said up above, they said, I heard they don't have the trampoline business anymore because they were sued. Now, she then said, I won't let my kids go because people get paralyzed. Apparently that happened. They're connecting those two statements, but out of context, we don't know if those two statements are connected or if it's Shannon being like, I don't let my kids trampoline ever. I mean, people get paralyzed on trampolines. We're never doing that. Like, trampolines are horrible. So they've connected it to say she's saying they don't have the trampoline park because they got sued, and they got sued because somebody got paralyzed. Judge made the foregoing statements knowing they were false with reckless disregard. Beador made them knowing they were false with reckless disregard. The damage is believed to be in excess of $1 million. The conduct is despicable, on and on. Trade libel. This is against Beador, saying that she heard they didn't have the business anymore because they were sued. I won't let my kids go because people get paralyzed. Apparently that happened. Trade libel is defamation against a business. So this is the plaintiff, the business, against defendant Beador, same allegations. False light is against both defendants by both plaintiffs, saying that they are publicizing information that is private, and it's publicizing information to cast you in literally a false light or a bad light, to make it seem that you're something that you're not, to besmirch your character, essentially. And I mean, that's basically Twitter. false light lawsuits, and Twitter. We could just pull up examples of false light lawsuits on Twitter. This is slightly different take on defamation, but it still goes to trying to cast you in a bad light and trying to really besmirch your characters, the basis here. Fifth cause of action, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. In different states, this has caused different things. Some states have like a tortious interference with business relationships. This is similar to that in that it's interfering with future business. So saying you making these statements about me and about my trampoline park means people aren't going to want to come. So you are inserting yourself in a business relationship. We see this play out sometimes on YouTube too, where people are like, oh, you shouldn't be watching this creator. Oh, this person's, lists off names and allegations. This can become intentional interference with prospective economic advantage in that context as well. So they're saying that this is against defendant Beador because she was talking about the trampoline park being sued. This is plaintiff, the trampoline park, and that she made those statements about they don't have the park anymore because they got sued. However, if they didn't have the trampoline park anymore at the time that those statements were made, I don't know how there can be any damage to prospective economic advantage if the trampoline park was already closed, which is unclear at this point, but we're going to get into it a little bit more. Sixth cause of action is negligent interference with prospective economic advantage, meaning, again, it's not intentional, but it's negligent, like you should have known better. We see this a lot with like intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent infliction with the emotional distress. They just are different standards showing that you didn't act in the negligent category with reasonable necessary care. Prayer for relief, damages to be proven at trial, punitive damages, remember to punish, injunctive and equitable relief, stop right there from doing the shit, and for any other thing that the court deems just. That is the complaint. I'm going to pull up real quick what the court said in the SLAAP dismissal, and then I can pull up the SLAAP suit real quick so that you guys can see that, and then we will move on to questions. Where is the minute order? Not that one. I had things pulled up. So, January 8th, 2019. Oh, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to talk about what a SLAAP suit is and what an anti-SLAAP is. Order granting defendant Shannon Beador's notice of motion and special motion to strike plaintiff's complaint pursuant to the California Anti-SLAAP Statute, Code of Civil Procedure 425-16. Order: the court heard argument on defendant Shannon Beador's special motion to strike plaintiff James Bellino and Jump Management Company's complaint pursuant to the Anti-SLAAP Statute. After considering all papers and evidence filed in support of and in opposition to Beador's motion and all papers and records on file in this action, and after hearing arguments of counsel, so the court's letting you know all of the work that went into this, the court finds that the anti-SLAAP statute applies to Ms. Beador's statements and that they are subject, and that they, words are hard, that the anti-SLAAP statute applies to Ms. Beador's statements that are the subject matter of this litigation, and the court further finds that plaintiffs have not established a probability of prevailing against Ms. Beador on their second cause of action for defamation, third cause of action for trade libel, fourth cause of action for false light, fifth cause of action for intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, and sixth cause of action, negligent interference with prospective economic advantage. It is so ordered, therefore, that Ms. Beador's special motion to strike is granted. Plaintiff's complaint is stricken in its entirety against Beador. The clerk shall enter judgment for Beador, and then she was also awarded over $100,000 in her legal fees. So while this is a win for her, this was still a costly and year-long legal battle that she had to deal with to get to the point where it was dismissed. A SLAAP lawsuit, or a lawsuit that's called a SLAAP lawsuit, we're going to talk about SLAAP lawsuits real quick. A SLAAP lawsuit, SLAAP stands for Strategic Litigation Against Public Participation. This is generally considered to be a lawsuit that is filed for the purposes of shutting someone up. It is not filed for the purpose of recovering damage. It's filed where, you're not going to win on this suit for whatever reason. You can't win on these actions, but you're doing it to abuse the process of litigation to strike out against me. So the SLAAP suit is what's filed. It's then brought by the defendant who's being sued, the anti-SLAAP statute, the anti-SLAAP motion, saying, no, this is a strategic litigation. What we're not going to do is go forward with this. And then not all states have anti-SLAAP laws, but the states that do have anti-SLAAP laws, you bring an anti-SLAAP motion and it fast forwards litigation to the plaintiff then having to prove that there is a reasonable likelihood that they're going to prevail on the merits, showing that they can win on this case if it were to go forward. So if you bring an anti-SLAAP motion and lose, it puts you in a very bad position because you now have been told by the court, you're likely going to lose. And it makes it harder to then settle the case because the other side is now walking away with a pretty big win. But if you win your anti-SLAAP motion, the case is dismissed with prejudice. It's over and done before you go through protracted litigation, before you go through protracted discovery, before anything else. When the anti-SLAAP motion is filed, the case stops right there, and then they go through the SLAAP procedure and the anti-SLAAP motion and determine whether the case can move forward. And in most states, if you win your anti-SLAAP suit, you get attorney's fees. We talked about this with the Keemstar Daniel Lacoste lawsuit. There were jurisdiction issues there on that lawsuit. And when we broke down that suit, Daniel Lacoste filed a defamation suit against a YouTuber, Keemstar, who runs the Drama Alert channel. Then instead of fighting and pissing around with the jurisdiction stuff, his attorneys filed an anti-SLAAP motion and won the case and got legal fees. And that was done and dusted pretty quickly, because the purpose of the anti-SLAAP litigation is to not drain a defendant of resources while they are years in litigation trying to fight through the court process to prove that this lawsuit was bullshit. It allows them a fast track to proving that a lawsuit was bullshit, saying, hey, they have to show that they're going to prevail. And I don't think that they can prevail on the merits. And then you go through the litigation of the SLAAP suit first, and it gets dismissed without prejudice. So that is a quick take on what a SLAAP suit is and how it works with an anti-SLAAP lawsuit or an anti-SLAAP motion. Shannon Beador, in this case, through her counsel, filed a very extensive anti-SLAAP motion. Also, in that anti-SLAAP motion, they went through hearings and it sounds like oral argument to the court. So the attorneys showed up in court and argued. I'm going to share with you Shannon's declaration in this suit to see what she had to say about it. This is her declaration in support of the anti-SLAAP motion. I joined the cast of the American TV show Real Housewives of Orange County in 2014, before the show's 9th season. I've been on the show for 5 seasons. My character... I love that she talks about herself as a character on the show, because we really do, right, narrow down the housewives into the little box that they fit in, right? I want to hear all of them talk about their characters. Like, Sonia Morgan, what's your character? Tell me how you see yourself. My character is known to be honest and someone who freely speaks her mind. While I speak my mind, I am also known to be one of the most respectful housewives. I think most would agree that I'm well liked among our fans. Most would agree that I have a good reputation. Alexis and Jim Bellino were on Real Housewives of Orange County before I joined in 2014. I believe Alexis and Jim were on the show from 2009 to 2013. I was not a housewife cast member during the time the Bellinos were on the show. I watched the show during that period. Alexis and Jim were married the entire time that Alexis was a housewife. Jim frequently appeared on the show and was an important part of her storyline. I concur. I agree with that. On June 26, 2018, I appeared on Heather McDonald's podcast, Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald, along with Tamara Judge, another housewife on the show. The podcast taped in front of a live audience of more than 100 people. Heather McDonald is a well-known comedian who appeared on Showtime specials with the Chelsea Lately show. Her show is notoriously funny and at times a bit racy. However, fans love it and laugh hysterically at her funny and outrageous content, which was no different for this particular podcast. This is painting the scene that this is comedy, that she is a comedian. She has had comedy appearances, that it's supposed to be outrageous. It's supposed to be funny, but it's not supposed to be like, oh, take everything away as the God, hand to Bible truth. This is actually a comedy routine. And the fact that it was at the Improv, I think will help them take that tack with it. The audience came to hear Judge and me talk about our lives, the Real Housewives, and our opinions about other housewives, including those we have met from other shows. During the show, McDonald asked me personal questions about dating, my sex life after my past marriage, which made me uncomfortable, but I played along. Okay, now I really want to hear this podcast. She asked me if men sent me nude photos of themselves, and the audience roared with laughter. I need to find this interview if it still exists. I'm sure it's down at this point, but Heather, I can just imagine this going down with so Shannon, are you getting dick pics? Like, are people sliding that eggplant into the DMs? Is that what's happening? Side note, nobody wants a dick pic. If they want one, they'll ask you for one, but just don't slide into people's DMs with that. We don't want them. But I have questions about that too. Now I want to know the answer. The conversation also touched on Alexis and Bellino, who had been making headlines with their recent divorce. McDonald asked whether the Bellinos still own trampoline parks. Someone had recently told me that the Bellinos did not have their trampoline parks anymore, and the reason may have been a lawsuit filed by someone who was injured at the park. I believe I said something like, I heard they do not have them anymore because they were sued. I made that statement based on what I heard and believed about the situation at the time. To this day, I have no reason to believe it's not true. So she's going with truth. At some point after that, as discussion of trampoline parks continued, I said something like, I won't let my kids go because people get paralyzed. Apparently that happens. My intent in making that statement was refer to trampoline parks generally. And that's what I was wondering when we read the complaint. Were they taking two separate parts of the conversation and conflating them to make it seem as if the two are related? Or is this Shannon being Shannon going, I don't like it. Like, I don't like it. I can't clean it. I can't sanitize it. I don't want my kids on trampolines. Which is not an unusual feeling. There are lots of parents who do not want their children near trampolines. I, like many others, think that trampoline parks are dangerous, and I am aware of news reports of people breaking their necks and becoming paralyzed at trampoline parks. I've never allowed my children to go to trampoline parks because I know of local children in my community that have sustained severe head trauma or broken necks after visiting them. I mean, it sounds like Orange County is not doing well with trampolines. At this point, my children know not to even ask me to go to one. That's the most Shannon-y sounding Shannon statement ever. The complaint alleges that after I said I won't let my kids go because people get paralyzed, I said apparently that happened, allegedly referring to the Bellinos trampoline park. This is not true. What I actually said was apparently that happens, which again, apparently that happened and apparently that happens. It's literally the difference of a letter, happened versus happens, and that can change this lawsuit. The difference of apparently that happened saying he was sued because somebody was injured, or apparently that happens talking about trampoline parks in general. I've heard stories, I don't let my kids go. It is a one letter, very big distinction in what is or was a $1 million lawsuit, which is why words matter. So as we get into the fact that a letter can make a difference in a lawsuit, she was saying, meaning apparently people get seriously injured, including paralyzed at trampoline parks. I was not referring to the Bellinos, but the occurrence of serious injuries, including broken necks and paralysis at trampoline parks generally, which I have read about. I was speaking my own truthful view about the danger of trampoline parks generally and my personal rules for my children. After the podcast, I was surprised that Bellino sent me a cease and desist letter demanding I retract statements I made and publicly apologize. I declined to do so because I did not perceive that I did anything wrong. I later learned that the internet tabloid TMZ reported on the cease and desist letter before I even received it. Right, because TMZ gets the tea because lawyers send it to them. Because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? The statements I made were truthful, and I did not and never would make a false statement about Jim Bellino. Plaintiff's allegations in the complaint that I spoke about the Bellinos or the conversation with Heather McDonald on any talk show after that is nonsense. The only press I've done since the McDonald podcast on July 12th and July 16th for the premiere of the new season. All of my press interviews are carefully monitored by the PR department for Bravo. We know it's the network for the housewives. After I refused to publicly retract the statements and apologize to Bellino, I was served with the complaint. So that was her statement about the defamation lawsuit. And we know that the court took their anti-SLAAP motion and said, yeah, the plaintiffs have not proved that they can actually survive this case. Now, Tamara Judge also filed an anti-SLAAP motion, and her case was not dismissed. So if we need to jump into that on a separate episode, a separate day, let me know, and we'll jump into this defamation lawsuit more as it applies to the statements made by Tamara Judge. But since the stuff against Shannon Beador is dismissed, let's talk about what remains as to Tamara Judge. As to Tamara, there is the defamation per se with regard to the he's going to jail comment. And then there is the defamation with regard to their divorce being fake, unless that was thrown out, because a judge can say this count stays and this count goes. And then that was the only stuff. Those 2 causes of action were the only 2 as to Tamara Judge. The rest were with regard to Shannon Beador. So let me know if we want a deep dive on Tamara Judge. And it is time to get into questions. Lots of questions. I'm sure you have questions. Look, thoughts at the end of the day while questions are coming in. Lawsuits are expensive. And she was awarded over $100,000 in attorney's fees, but would have been paying that attorney for the year until that ruling. And then not only do you pay, then you have to track down your winnings. We saw it with Keemstar, and I know, look, this is not co-signing the things Keem does or says. This is talking about his lawsuit. With regard to his lawsuit, he took less in attorney fees and took Romeo Lacoste's play button because he's petty like that. Now, tracking down attorney's fees can be a whole separate thing that you now have to pay your lawyer to go track down attorney's fees to claw back what you've already spent. This is not a easy thing to do. This is time consuming. This is stressful. This is a whole lot. So I don't suggest getting into a defamation lawsuit. But what we're seeing here is that even action after the cease and desist was served came up in this, right? After the cease and desist was served, we still see, oh, well, they went on this show and they went on this show. Again, this is what it is when you talk about lawsuits afterwards. What you say is going to come up, Oof. Oof. Question, Haley McGinnis. Hey, Haley, can we stop 1 second and hype you being on the Phil DeFranco show and H3 and getting almost 25,000 subs in 10 days? We can. Also, I was mentioned on the Simply Podlogical podcast, and I've been fangirl dying for like a week and a half over the creators who are like, oh no, I like Emily's coverage. On YouTube, you never know who's watching. And it always blows my mind when people are like, no, your coverage was really helpful. I'm like, oh, I started this channel to be a resource for other creators, but for all of us as well, just to understand the ins and outs of what's going on and the ins and outs of what this stuff is. And I really hope to be a resource. The fact that other creators have found it to be a helpful resource has blown me away. So thank you. Yeah, we're at 124,000. And when I looked at, I've just been blown away by the love and support. So you guys, if you are watching and you haven't done the YouTube things yet, go do the YouTube things. I'll tell you how many subscribers we've gained in May on my analytics, because it's blown my mind what we've done this month. So in May, we have gained over 25.6 thousand subscribers this month. And that's, I mean, it's the 19th of May. It blows my mind. So thank you for all of the support. And thank you to all of the other creators who find this helpful. It means the world to me that the resource that I put out there is actually a resource that's helpful. So yeah. Ashley Trott. Oh, Jesus. Oh God. Oh God. I commented on Twitter. I don't want to repeat the statements because they're so awful. I can't imagine what happened that those statements were made. So this is regarding the Capitol insurrection. One of the defense attorneys made some highly disparaging and I think hateful remarks about the mental competency of not only his defendant, but of others. If you guys watch Natalie Lawyer Chick, who I've had on the channel, who I think is tremendous, you will see her talk about defense attorneys, and she is a defense attorney. Defense attorneys not throwing their clients under the bus. I have so many problems with it. I hate the words that were used. I hate the disparaging of perceived mental illness. I hate throwing a defendant under the bus and being like, look, they're this. I hated everything about it. I hate it. I hate all of it. And I imagine people will probably make complaints about it. And defendants, no matter what a defendant has done, they have the right to counsel and they have the right to a defense. Even when we think they are the worst, Even when we're like, how are you doing this? I hate what you've done. I might even hate you, defendant. I might believe that I hate you as a person. Generally, we hate their actions, but there are some defendants who are like, nope, hate all of you, hate everything about you. Still deserves to have an attorney in their corner fighting for their constitutional rights. And I don't know how you feel confident in that attorney when they are disparaging you to the media. He actually said the word short bus, among other things. There's also issues of pretrial statements. Are you trying to now, in some backwards way, garner sympathy for your defendant? It was awful. It's awful. I'm very interested to see what falls out from it. And I don't normally cover a lot of stuff that has a particularly political lean, but I am going to keep my eye on the fallout from what that attorney said, because that I am very interested in. So I am, yes. Thank you. The mods are reminding me to please read the question out loud before answering it. I am going to try to remember. I do get pulled. So let me go back through here and try to catch up. Almost a Shirley said, juicy scoop. Bellino also sued Heather McDonald. She was devastated. She fought and won. It has changed all podcasters' laws. I'll have to take a look, because I imagine if she won, she probably won on the same anti-SLAAP motion that Shannon won on. And these are things that are stuff that needs to be continually evaluated. So that's what's going on with here. Joe Jersey said, how did Tamara not get hers tossed? We need to know. Okay, we will do a deep dive into Tamara on a different day for sure. So deep dive on Tamara seems to be the way. I'm going to try to catch up with questions. Thank you guys for putting question before it. Hollymans, I hope I pronounced that right, asked, is the difference between anti-SLAAP motions and motions to dismiss entirely which side has to prove the case? Are attorney fees standard outside of anti-SLAAP stuff? Holly, that's a fantastic question. Thank you. So anti-SLAAP is a very particular statute in most states, not all states. And we talked about that with regard to Johnny Depp too, that part of the reason I perceive that the Johnny Depp defamation suit against Amber Heard is in Virginia is because Virginia does not have an anti-SLAAP statute. My perception, but isn't it coincidental? Washington State, coincidentally, does not have an anti-SLAAP. And I don't think that Minnesota has an anti-SLAAP statute either. Anti-SLAAP motions generally dismiss the case with prejudice, and you can get attorney's fees for it. So the case is over. You can't bring another case. You can't rewrite the complaint and try again. You can't just start over. No, you are done and dusted, and it's over. It's like final over. Motions to dismiss, like we saw in the Toddy Westbrook suit on jurisdiction, the case is dismissed without prejudice. It can be refiled. It can be rewritten. This is the same on like a 12b6 motion. Like, hey, you didn't file this lawsuit well. And it's like, all right, you're right. It wasn't filed well. It gets dismissed without prejudice, and it can be refiled. An anti-SLAAP, if you win an anti-SLAAP motion, it's done. It's done. You cannot sue somebody again for the same actions. Thank you so much for bringing that question up, because I hope that brought in more understanding. Question, you should do a podcast with Simply Podlogical. I'm sure that we will collaborate at some point when legal stuff comes up. I was just flattered and touched that they watch my content. I was like, because I watch their content. I enjoy their podcast, and I really enjoy everything that Simply Neological does. It's fun stuff to watch. And I just really like Christine and Ben so much. Ben! Question, speaking about words make a difference. What are the consequences of saying sorry after an accident, or if a doctor says it to a patient? I thought has changed it in the past. It sometimes admitting fault and apologizing can be seen as admitting fault. It's just, it's a hard thing to touch on because it depends on how someone else perceives it. So it's, oh my God, I'm so sorry can be perceived as, oh my God, you're at fault, or perceived as, oh my God, I'm sorry that we're in this circumstance. So for doctors, it really goes generally by what their own personal tolerances, but also what their risk management assessors where they work are going to tell them to do. And a lot of times an apology can help heal a circumstance, but it can also at times be used against you. So if you admit fault and are like, hey, this went wrong, the thing is, sometimes things go wrong and no one's at fault. Accidents do happen, but it can be a very dicey thing. So it's a great question for sure. Kelly Chambers, not related, but is it a copyright violation, fair use for someone to read an entire on live stream? I read an entire what? I'm guessing book not written by the streamer. Ooh, that's a very specific request, but they're live performing books without rights release can be a problem. So having a channel where it's like, oh, I'm just going to read books that aren't within the Creative Commons, stuff that hasn't expired in copyright, can be a problem. So yes, if we're talking about books, it can be a problem. Things that are within Creative Commons, not a problem. Yay, Danielle, welcome. In Florida, we have sanctions. Is this the same or similar to a SLAAP lawsuit, says Whitney? So the SLAAP lawsuit is the lawsuit that's the problem. The anti-SLAAP statute is the fuck you, you can't file that lawsuit against me. Get out of court. But sanctions, and depending on how Florida's sanctions are, sanctions can mean a lot of things. Sanctions can mean sanctions against lawyers for filing the suits, sanctions against litigants for filing the suit, but that's not necessarily the same as anti-SLAAP litigation. Let's see, Florida. Florida, however, does seem to have a general anti-SLAAP provision and has since 2000. So Florida does have an anti-SLAAP statute. Now, whether they have sanctions that are separate from that and sanctions for vexatious litigants and things like that, they are probably two things completely different. So Cindy Nelson said Dustin Daly shouted you out too. Dustin and Nick have been tremendously supportive of the channel and supportive behind the scenes as well, and are two humans I very much enjoy that I've gotten to know. So yes. Oh, thank you guys for all the purple hearts. Yay. Yay, yay. I love you guys too. Kibby says, honestly, Emily's name is getting blasted everywhere. I mean, some good, some not so good. But yes, I really enjoy being a resource for other channels. I enjoy getting to know other creators. It's just, this journey has been such a tremendous blessing, and getting to join with all of you in it. I can't wait till we can be again in person. When I was reading this whole thing, I was like, I want to record live in front of an audience and get to hang out and do an episode, interview somebody, have a 2-hour conversation, take audience questions. I want to, that sounds like the most fun. Can we please do that? I think there'd be more 100 in the audience, but can we please do that? That was not meant to be shady. It's just the law nerds are hardcore. That's all. So I just can't wait to do that. Michaela says, I'm here from H3. Thank you. Being on H3 was so much fun. Question, do you own a trampoline and will you be burning it alive after this? I don't own a trampoline. I'm one of those parents. I'm sorry. I'm one of those parents that is trampoline avoidant. And this is a back and forth in my house. My kids want a trampoline. I'm worried about people dislocating shoulders and elbows. I know that trampolines can be safe and fun, and trampolines can also be dangerous if not used right. I have nervousness about them. I will also tell you a quick tangent. In college, I was always so jealous that the divers on the diving team got to do trampoline workouts. It always looked like so much fun. And after water polo practice, I was talking with the diving coach and I was like, this looks like so much fun. And he's looking at my less chunky but still curvy body going, no, you are way too curvy to be a diver. You're going to splash everywhere. And I'm like, but the trampolines look so much fun. He's like, these are not a toy. This is actual hard work. And I'm like, I know it's hard work, but it looks like so much fun that they get to do these trampoline workouts. So trampolines make me nervous. That's where I'm at. And we do not have one at this point. That my kids very much want a trampoline. Question: have you considered covering Epic versus Apple? I know you're a bit of a gamer and an Epic fan, so I'd love to hear more fact-based commentary on this. Yes, I have thought about it. It's so much work to get up to speed. Like, to be perfectly honest, there's so much that has happened in this litigation that to get up to speed, it's going to take some time. I am at this point intending to break it down when it is done because they are in trial. So it's going to keep changing. So yes, I'm intending to go back and break down what happened and why when we get to the end of it, though it's probably just going to get appealed, but we'll see. So yes, at some point in the future, but it is all of these episodes take time and research to put together. When I have already a pretty basic fact background and when there isn't a ton of litigation, it's a little easier to parse through. There has been so much litigation in Epic versus Apple. Kaylee Stein says, seeing you on H3 is so exciting. I've been posting on the sub since the start of DDJC, and I'm so happy to see you making a big wave. Thank you so much. Question: after a lawsuit, are you able to speak on it? It depends on A, the lawsuit, and B, how it resolves. So when you win in court, you generally can speak about it. Most people are a little gun shy after going through hundreds of thousands of dollars of litigation and are just like, it's fucking over. Don't ask me about it again. But if in this instance, if Shannon wanted to talk about the defamation suit, could she? That would really be between her and her attorneys. Let me see when this was. I mean, this was dismissed. Let me see when this order is. This was done in 2019. So I know there was some reporting about it then, but I don't think she has spoken on it much. And I imagine that she won't because, again, you get a little gun shy after going through litigation like that. So hopefully that helps. Robin D, so deserved. The Twitter combo between you and Christine was adorable. Thank you. I like Christine a lot. A girl named James. Hi, I just subbed. Thanks. Been stalking for a while. Of course. Welcome. Stalking in the fun colloquial internet sense is welcome. Stalking in the driving 3 states to knock on somebody's house and hurl disparaging statements at them. I'll talk about the Boogie case in a second. I have more thoughts. More has come to light for me, so we're going to talk about Boogie, even though we're in the middle of Q&As. So we will. And Nope Ninja asks, and then I'm going to get back to the second half of this. My brain. Nope Ninja asks, question: would you come to Canada? I've been to Canada. I love Canada, and I'm sure I will find myself in Canada again. I enjoy visiting Canada. I've even come to Canada in January because I'm crazy like that. I was there for a New Year's once. It was really cold. Question: I'm a registered nurse and I've been wanting to apply to law school for a long time. Do you have any advice to move forward with this? Things I need. Well, the LSAT first. I am also sure that the application process for law school has changed a bit since I applied to law school back in the early 2000s. There's probably now a clearinghouse. I would look for a school that matches your goals and a school that's not going to put you in debt that you're paying off for 30,000 years or at least 30 plus years. Because if you've already been through nursing, law school is also expensive. And if you want to go into the field of medical malpractice and use your nursing knowledge, I would look for a school where you can do work in that field, where you can work with a hospital, where you have, potentially professors that work in the field. And I would look for something tailored to what you want to do, not necessarily I want to go to law school. This one has a good reputation. Also, if you can live close to where you want to work, it helps. Regional law schools can do really well if that's the region that you stay in. You don't necessarily have to go to a top 10 law school because your experience will stand on its own. So, Emma said, question, could a mention be put up in a playlist descriptions if videos are not in chronological order? I generally try to put the things in chronological order on my playlists. So I generally try to. Jen McEwen asked something I've been asked a lot. Will I be covering the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case? Not yet. I may in the future, but not just yet. Belissa Bella said, question, do you think Shannon will continue her healthy food plan? Wasn't she doing like a freshly meal plan? Also, congrats on all of your subs. You deserve it. Thank you. A good reminder to do the YouTube things. I can only imagine that she'll continue making food. I mean, wasn't she selling them on like QVC and stuff? She has to still make an income. She's been spending a ton of money. Like I'm sure Shannon has probably spent well over $500,000 on legal fees. Probably over $1 million if we count the divorce, the stuff that came after the divorce to have to get the screen or the appearance releases, the suing the divorce attorney, and I don't know why I just said divorce so weird, but suing the divorce attorney and then also dealing with the defamation. I mean, she's probably well over, given all of that, $1 million in legal fees. So I can't imagine that she would stop doing that if that's a good source of income for her. It's a lot. Look, legal is stressful. Lawsuits are stressful. It's fun for us in a commentary space. It's like being a sports commentator to sit back and be like, this is what they said. This is how they worded it. This is the image they're trying to paint for the court. This is what they're trying to say. But then it's nice to be able to pull the other side of it going, that's actually not what it is. That's actually not defamation. You've taken these two parts, made them seem like they go together. They don't. And this is why I won. We can look at the overall of it, but still so stressful and so expensive going through all of this. Whether Shannon paid more than the amount of lawyers' fees that she won over $100,000 in lawyers' fees in that anti-SLAAP motion being granted, but that doesn't mean that that's just what she spent. So that's what it is. Kristen Sawyer. I think Sawyer. Any thoughts on Judge Middleton being forced to not stream anymore? So if you guys haven't watched this was shared on Twitter yesterday, and I actually took the Twitter app off my phone of doing it just from the browser so that I'm not on it as much. I'm better when I'm not on Twitter a lot. But I was really sad to see it. It seemed to me that a lot of people had complained after the Mr. 3000 incident happened, and that was part of what contributed to this, that people were saying it wasn't professional, that he wasn't professional. I was sad to hear some of the comments and the negative comments he had gotten. And it just, again, some of those comments that he has gotten, I was like, oh, I feel you, Judge Middleton, because I get that too. You'll see plenty of comments of people being like, how can you be a real lawyer? You curse so much. Look, you don't know lawyers. If you're saying, but you curse, how can you be a lawyer? I'm not in court. I don't walk into court being like, what's up, motherfuckers? Like, that's not how that is. But also, this is commentary, not court. He was in court. I thought he ran his court professionally. I think he gave a really good slice of what a local operating court looks like. The point that was well taken for me when Judge Middleton said that he was not going to be streaming was that no one asked the litigants. And for me, that is one of the things that I hadn't really considered much when we were talking about Zoom court. But now you've got somebody who, may be in court on, possession of methamphetamine and might not want the entire country watching that on YouTube. People who are dealing with domestic violence cases might not want everyone to know. Normally, unless somebody actually makes the effort to pay for parking, go to court, get up at 8:30, know the day it's on the docket, you wouldn't know that these things were going on because you're not sitting there watching them day after day. But when you're working from home and you can stream it, or people can, pull it and comment on it, not that there's anything wrong with that, because there's not, but it also puts people who are now, used to dealing or would be dealing with just a small local court issue. Now it has the potential to go viral and become international news. And I understand that for defendants, that can be an issue. For victims, that can be an issue. Would you want to be a victim in Judge Middleton's court knowing it could go viral and be streamed all over YouTube? It would be a whole nother factor. Victims oftentimes don't want to go to court and testify anyway. Having the people in the courtroom looking at them is overwhelming and enough. So to then know that that could be hundreds of thousands of people on the internet was a point that was well taken for me. I like that the public can go to Zoom court, live streaming court on YouTube. I think there's the good parts are we get to see how the court system works, and it's open and transparent during a pandemic when it can't be open and transparent. I like the balance of people having to register with the court and call in so the court can control the proceedings. And then those aren't necessarily out in the public forum. Like the Josh Duggar detention hearing, it was like 6 hours long. You could request the permission to attend from the court. They knew who you were. They knew what you were attending. They had very strict rules on what could and couldn't be shared, how it could and couldn't be shared. So it protects the openness of the court while still protecting kind of the sanctity of the court at the same time. So that was a lot of thoughts. I didn't realize I had so many thoughts. I really like Judge Middleton. I will miss seeing him. So I miss it. I'm going to sweep a few super chats that I didn't get to. I am sorry. I am sorry. Ajula1012 said, when your daughter calls and says, did you just make a large purchase on Amazon? I just have to say, new Law Nerd merch. Well, thank you for your Law Nerd purchase. I hope you enjoy it. Oh my God, it's Dana said, you missed the most fun chat. Half of us didn't have questions because we were chatting and laughing so hard. We love you. Well, I'm so glad you guys were having fun in the chat. That is what I love about the chat. And that is why we moderate the chat the way we do. So the chat can be fun and cannot be Thunderdome, because that's not what I like. It's also why we pretty heavily regulate like the all caps, because that is hard for me to parse. Adia Ray said, just want to say I love your channel and the purple hair looks awesome on you. Thank you. You're doing a great job. I am trying. I'm a little under the weather today, but we're trying. And Brenda Osborne super chatted and said, hello, Emily. Thank you. And who said, Kate, hi, Kate. Thank you for your super sticker. Jane Doe, we need to hi. We need to chat. I was on a lot of Ricada's live stream last night. I have so many thoughts. So when Ricada covered the boogie stuff on his live stream last night, I didn't see if he covered the QAnon shaman stuff. But when he covered the boogie stuff, Ricada pulled up the boogie interview. Boogie and the guy, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I covered it in another live stream. A YouTuber has been charged with unlawfully discharging a firearm. I think they also charged it as an assault for, he says, firing a warning shot into the air when somebody whose last name is Hassel was allegedly harassing him at his house. Boogie, the YouTuber, made a police report about the stalking and harassment that he alleges he suffered at Hassel's hands. When I covered it, the problem I had with the video that we had seen and all of the information that was out was that Hassel showed up to his house, was knocking on his door, and was calling him out, calling him names, and generally just being a total dick. But he wasn't trying to pull the door open. He wasn't trying to get in through a window. He was like, fuck you, come out here, and then a whole bunch of slurs and name calling. But he didn't appear at that point to try to get into the house or anything like that. Boogie then opened the door and fired a warning shot. Now, what Ricada showed last night was an interview before that incident happened with Boogie and Hassel that Keemstar did. Now, in that interview, Boogie threatens Hassel's life more times than I could count, and starts saying how he's going to use the castle doctrine, which is like a stand your ground doctrine, to protect himself if he shoots and kills Hassel. He's like calling him out. Come to my house. Come to my house. I will end you. I will end this. I don't care. I have a gun. I'm mentally ill. I will kill you. I'm like, holy shit. Well, the prosecutor is going to go through all of that and be like, you were premeditating to pull a weapon on him. This was not like, heat of the moment, he showed up and you were so afraid that you were like, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't even think to call the police. I didn't know how to get him off my steps. You said you wanted this result. You said you wanted to fire a weapon at him. Like in this interview, he's like, I will end you. I will kill you. So given that information, that prosecution's probably not going to plea easily because of all that was said. So the prosecutors are going to be like, this you, that interview is not going to go well for him at all. Queen, questions, thoughts on the process Kim K is doing to become a lawyer? It's legal in my state and I've thought about doing it that way. Queen, I have no shade to Kim K for becoming a lawyer. I think it is a more difficult way to become a lawyer. I also think Kim has the money and the ability to do that. It's a lot of work. I don't even, well, law schools are now virtual. So there's a lot of options for online school and night school, but an apprenticeship generally comes with a lot of hoops. So I would make sure that you are well aware of the apprenticeship, aware how much you're going to have to spend for the other attorney's time, what tests you have to take. I think it is a harder route to become a lawyer with more hoops involved than maybe attending law school in another non-traditional way, but it is a legit way to become a lawyer. Apprenticeship used to be the only way to become a lawyer. And if you have an attorney willing to put in the time and effort to help you get there, I think it's possible. So those are my thoughts, but depending on your state, you would have to absolutely look at how that works, what the requirements are for your state. I'll have to do a whole video on Kim K becomes a lawyer. I'm curious to see if she'll pass the bar. She's definitely been studying. It's a lot of time. Law school takes a lot of time. I can't imagine doing law school with kids. I can't imagine doing law school while also filming a show. I mean, in law school, it was literally 3 years of like, la, 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 la. I can't do anything else. I am just studying. And I would always tell law students now, when you're in law school, find some balance, because spending 3 years in law school figuring out how to work a lot, how to process information, and also how to rest and balance will carry you through the longevity of your career. I did law school with like head down, work hard, like nothing else matters. I listened to a lot of, when I say nothing else matters, I listened to a lot of Metallica when I was in law school. Like I was very emo in law school. It was a lot of work. So it was like head down and rage rock, but head down and work. But I carried that into my career, which led to a lot of burnout for me, because you cannot head down and work 30 years of a career. You will burn yourself out. There has to be ebb and flow to it. And if you don't allow for that ebb and flow, you're going to burn out. And in law, they'll let you burn out. They'll be like, cool, you want to do more work? Sweet, go ahead. So you have to put those bumpers around yourself for sure. So thank you for the super sticker. Question, can we get more ASMR videos? Yes, there will be more. I actually intend to keep that channel going. I've just been swamped and haven't done it. But yes. Anna says, I'm a little behind. No worries, no explanation needed. So this might have been asked. John Oliver did an episode on SLAAP suits about a year ago on Last Week Tonight. Was that a decent overview of it? I have no idea. I haven't seen it, but I will watch and see if we can recommend it as a resource. I'm sure others have covered SLAAP and anti-SLAAP lawsuits as well. Joe Jersey, question, would you ever go back and cover the Dan Betty Broderick divorce? Would love your take on it. I don't know enough about it. If we ever have time to go back and cover stuff, the first divorce I want to go back and cover is Bethany and Jason, because we're on a housewife kick at the moment. But I appreciate it. So I'm going to look for a few more questions, and then I'm going to have to wrap up. Emily is getting an accent. Marissa, that may be the case. I did that in college too. And I don't even notice when I'm doing it, but I did that in college when I came home and my family's like, what's happening? I'm like, Massachusetts happened to me. Massachusetts happened to me. And I sound completely different. Ada Ray just wanted to say, I love your channel, Purple. Oh, thank you. I read those out. Now I get to pull them up. So I'm going to pull them up for sure. Liz B said, hubby gets a little worried when he hears me listening. He's like, you're learning too much. Get it, Liz B. Learn all the things. And then you're going to be like, no, look, let me know in the chat. Are you all, put diamonds in the chat, who's watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills tonight with a notepad? With a notepad. Joe, I hope I pronounced that right. Joa, I think. Anything on the Triller lawsuit? No, I actually double checked Pacer this morning. Nada. I don't think the parties have been served yet. Triller has to serve the H3 podcast and has to serve Film Daily, and they haven't filed proof of service with the court yet. So that's the thing I think will happen next is proof of service. Druvis, I hope I did that right. Christine and Emily, from their professional experiences, have overlapping things, statistician and law. Yes, I think it would be fascinating to talk about her work as a statistician vis-a-vis my work as a criminal prosecutor. I think that would be a lot of fun. One day. All right. Adam, hi, longtime listener, first-time caller. Welcome, Adam. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Two-part question. How does the law community feel about visible tattoos? Does it affect things like law school admission, jobs, prospects, etc.? It might be changing, and it depends on the area of law. I imagine if you're going into entertainment law, you're working with influencers, nobody's going to give a fuck. In government prosecution, visible tattoos were still a little frowned upon, but at the public defender's office, nobody really cared. So it's going to depend on the area where you practice, the tolerance generally of the area where you practice. My tattoos were I always wore a jacket in court anyway. If I was in trial, you very rarely saw my arms, because it wasn't that I was worried about my bosses or the court. It was jurors I was worried about, because what I don't need is jurors wasting their time either judging me or being curious about my tattoos or being like, and that doesn't feel very professional to me. I mean, if you want to see how people feel about professional female attorneys, you can look at the comments on my channel, on Natalie Lawyer Chick's channel. Even look at what Judge Middleton said about people saying, well, you're not professional. You are not representing the profession very well. He's like, somebody called into my court with the name Buttfucker 3000. What do you want me to do? Ignore it? But it's the jurors for me, because I was in jury trials, that I was very mindful of, because I don't need them wasting their energy being like, I don't know how I can listen. Like, who does she think she is? With if I was to go into trial now, it would be I could not do this with purple hair and with tattoos. It just would not work. But if I worked in the entertainment industry, it might not be as much of a thing, because I don't know if, influencers care if their attorney has purple hair. Some might be like, I don't want an attorney-fluencer. I want an attorney. I want a boring old dude attorney. And so it really, really depends on where you are in the legal community. I think standards of professionalism with regard to physical appearance are changing, but also I've seen it where people who are heavier are discriminated against in law. It's like, oh, well, do you make sound judgment because you are not as thin as that person over there? You heard Natalie and Nate the lawyer talk about judgment and discrimination because of their hairstyles. Law can be very appearance-based and judgy, but I think it's changing. That was a very long answer. Adam, there is no right answer for it. It also depends. Like, a tattoo above your eyebrows is going to be different than something on your arms or the back of your neck that you might see once in a while, different than like knuckle tattoos. So I don't know. I had an ETF agent that I worked with ages ago that literally was like sleeved. I've also worked with male attorneys that were sleeved, and they would wear like an Under Armour sleeve under their white shirts, so you didn't really see their tattoos, because visible, it depends. Like, what's really visible? If you're in a suit and it's not your face or your fingers, generally you can make them not super visible. But if they're visible on your off time, not as much of a problem. Hope that answers. This is the most professional and optimized live on YouTube. Thanks for the help, mods. I love our mods. Can we get a mod shout out? Can we get a mod love shout out? Because the mods help keep this chat a fun and safe place to chat. Thank you, Batul. I am sorry for your diagnosis. I am 24 and would be down, but your videos and you would make me smile. I'm now in remission. Congratulations on being in remission. I can empathize tremendously. I had a friend go through cancer at a very young age, and it was quite a lot. And people did not did not understand, but we were DAs together. I'm so glad you're in remission. The content will always be here, hopefully to bring a laugh and a little bit of learning, or at least a mindless distraction in the background with me going on and on about housewives. Thank you so much for sharing that, and lots of love and healing vibes. And I'm so glad you're in remission. Yay. And I'm so glad to see the Lawnard love in the chat under that. It's so great. I love it. Abigail, in paralegal school, 2 of my teachers were lawyers with tattoos. My probate teacher had an entire sleeve, but he usually wore a long sleeve jacket. Perfect. There we go. Question, any thoughts about Johnny Depp suing the ACLU because they didn't get their receipts that Amber Heard donated to the ACLU like she promised? Has he sued them? I haven't seen it. If they said that her donating became a thing in the court in the UK. So if they did something wrong there, it'll be interesting to see, but I don't know it enough. Heidi, yes, there is clearly a special kind of hate between Jim Bellino and Tamara Judge. I think Tamara Judge was the one who deemed Alexis Bellino Jesus jugs. Tamara was definitely critical of them. There's the thing though is it's not illegal to be an asshole. And Tamara definitely can be an asshole. I think she's funny, but she can definitely be an asshole. That's not illegal. So whether this stuff is actually defamatory, we'll see. Thank you, Tech, for reminding me about court of public opinion. We're going to do it right now. Hello, dear. Time for your catnip tip. Also looking forward to some laundered prime merch. Thank you so much, Ashley Vincent. Always good to see you in the chat. Erica TV question. I'm a new sub from H3. Welcome. What is your law background? What are your favorite cases to take? Oh, that is so much. Welcome, 2,000 friends. This is your time to do the YouTubey things, like and subscribe and the stuff. Like thumbs up the chat. And then we're going to do court of public opinion. But I'm going to talk about me for just a second. I went to law school to become a deputy district attorney. I knew I wanted to go into criminal prosecution. During law school, I had the pleasure of working with the U.S. Attorney's Office federally in their tax crimes division, which was fascinating stuff. And I tell stories about that often. I also had the pleasure of working at the district attorney's office for a summer where I worked with stalking and threat assessment, arson, and crimes against peace officers. Very interesting, eye-opening experience for me. We also worked in like a storage closet. It wasn't like it was a storage locker where the evidence was. So you would have to walk through the evidence like on like garage style shelving with the evidence boxes. So my desk was near the O.J. Simpson case evidence boxes. It was a very weird summer in a room with no windows, but I really enjoyed my time there and ended up working. Some of the DAs I worked with during that time became DAs that I then worked with later in my career. After law school, I worked as a research attorney or a judicial research attorney, depending on where you are, they call it different things, but I was waiting for bar results and worked directly for 2 judges, reading all the stuff that came across like we do here, and helping them form opinions, doing the legal research behind it. Long hours, fascinating work. Worked on all different kinds of cases. So that was really fun and civil. Then I became a deputy district attorney. When I left the district attorney's office, I started doing consulting work for online business owners, which I really enjoyed. And that touches on business structure, intellectual property, and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed working with business owners one-on-one because you see the impact of your work the most directly and the most quickly. But being a district attorney was hugely meaningful. It was just very, very, very stressful. And it did not blend for my family, but I have a whole TED talk about that. So if you want to hear me talk about leaving the district attorney's office and figuring out who the fuck I am as a human anyway, I have a TED talk. It's probably, you can search Emily D. Baker TED, but it's probably down in the description below. Almost a Shirley. I pulled this comment because It was really cute. A boy was trying to impress our daughter with Led Zeppelin music, and my daughter knew everything on them thanks to dad. He was music obsessed. That boy was all like, no Barty in our house. I love that so much. My kid listens to a lot of the music that I love, and it is really one of my pleasures. The only thing is he does not love Dave Matthews Band like I love Dave Matthews Band, and it hurts my soul a little bit. My youngest likes Dave better. My oldest is really like Bad Religion, The Offspring, Metallica, a little bit of System of a Down. Like we've gone a different direction with my oldest, and I love it. I love watching him experience the music that I love too. So very, very fun. All right. Somebody was saying, hold on, I've got to thank you for the love for the mods. Valerie, same in academia, student evaluations have comments on your skincare routine. I got asked by jurors about my skin all the time. I had jurors regularly wait after a trial to ask me about my skin, and then it was always my drink accoutrement. This is not a new thing that I like drink containers. This is not new, but I would get asked about where I got my water bottle, where I got my things all the time by jurors. Those were kind of the top two. And then people ask me like about my voice and if I did radio and stuff like that would happen. Okay. I am going to miss a whole bunch of questions. I'm sorry. We have to do court of public opinion. I've been talking for way too long. Peace and Geek. Thank you for making my days as a paralegal and legal resource project manager a little easier. You're welcome. I'm sure you are very busy all of the time. So, all right, let's do court of public opinion. Let me pull it up. And for those of you that are new, court of public opinion is something we do on Fridays. On Fridays, we put out a new question. The point of court of public opinion is to have cheeky banter and discuss how we discuss. It's part of our critical thinking here as law nerds. How do we solve a problem? And what does the court of public opinion say? It started with a super chat about whether or not a hot dog was a sandwich. And it grew into a whole ass thing from there. And now we do it every Friday. We did the YouTuber apology bracket, which was a blast. And now we are on to browser tabs. That was our question for this week. And Friday, we will have a new question. I'm going to let my parents pick this week's court of public opinion in honor of them visiting this week. Then I put polls up on YouTube on my channel tab and on Twitter. And then we go through on Tuesdays and rule on the court of public opinion. So let me just pull these up and see. We've got lots and lots of thoughts on the court of public opinion. So let's just get into it. It's time to get into court of public opinion. It's time to get into court of public opinion. I know. I love the intro too. It makes me so happy. I boogie while you guys boogie with the intro. So, court of public opinion was browser tabs. How many browser tabs? How many browser tabs? And here we go. I don't know why it needs read more. How many web browser tabs or phone browsers are too many? Is over 50 even reasonable? Can you get anything done with less than 5? 0 to 5 works for me. My brain more hurts my brain. 20 or less, let's not get wild. 20 to 50 is fine, chill people, and 50 plus, gotta get shit done. And a lot of the comments were that this was situational for you guys. And this is with over 17,000 votes. I love how many of you participated. Thank you. It's situational for a lot of you. It's like, if I'm doing work, it's this. If I'm doing stuff for me, it's this. If I'm on my phone, it's this. So for a lot of you, it was different. Emma said on a normal day, 5 max. If I'm doing research or writing a paper, 15 is my max. Anything more is just lying to yourself about how much you can tackle. And some of you, a lot of you, use it as a to-do list too, where you leave your tabs open going, I have to check through these things in my day. So it was very interesting to see that the 0 to 5 was kind of our winning category on YouTube. Now over on Twitter, again, 0 to 5, 44%, 20 or less, 31%, 20 to 50, 12%, and 50 plus, 11%, with over 2,600 votes. These generally run about the same because the law nerds, We are generally pretty much running parallel between platforms on how we think of things. So that's what it is. You guys are saying, gotta get it done. My Chrome has 8 tabs that appear each time a new window is opened. This is just what I need to get my day started, but more than 20 tabs, 20 gets messy and distracting. I feel it. My husband is the kind of psycho who has 50 plus tabs open on his phone. I never understand it. Me neither. My husband has all the tabs open and I don't. So it seems for most people, except for Tesla's husband, who says 101 is where it's too much. For most people, 0 to 5 is kind of where our happy space is. So the court of public opinion has spoken. All of you, close your browsers. You're just distracting yourself. No, it's the court of public opinion. You're welcome to disagree with the court of public opinion and be like, who are these people that are doing only 5? Who are these people that are doing 50? It's just the court of public opinion. We have gotten through so much today. We have gone well over 2 hours. My brain is tired. I'm sure some of you are with me who are like, yes, us too. Thank you for hanging with me another day, Law Nerds. I will be back on Friday. I am not sure what we're covering on Friday yet. We will see what happens. Friday might just be a chill Q&A stream. There might be a few things to touch on. I am not going to break down the Tamara Judge stuff just yet, but we will be doing that in the weeks to come. I am going to be diving into the Ethan Klein lawsuit on fair use. That's going to probably be a podcast uploaded episode. So we've got lots to do, lots to cover, and lots to come. So make sure you have A, like the stream on your way out, B, subscribed and hit the bell so you know when I go live. And if you are in North America, you can just hit textemily.com and join the text crew. I will send out reminders, and I will also send out information if I'm going to pop off live on Instagram. I'll send you reminders there, and I do my best to get in there and chat when I can. I do not guarantee that I answer texts, but I try to. I also enjoy sending out birthday texts. It's a lot of fun. I love the text crew. And last plug, the Pride merch is up. So if you want to head over to the Law Nerd shop and check out the new merch, I'm going to make sure right after I finish this stream that it sorts a little more easily for you so that you can find everything you're looking for. And there will be some additional merch coming up at the beginning of June. There's also going to be some giveaways coming at the beginning of June. So stay tuned here and on social at the Emily D. Baker everywhere. We've got a lot going on. You guys, thank you. Drop some diamonds again. Are you guys going to be watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills tonight? Because I'm going to be watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills tonight. I'm absolutely going to be watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills tonight. I can't wait to see you all back on the internet tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for being a Law Nerd. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just textemily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.